your frustration then goes on to the agent and the landlord.
How are estate agents allowed to charge so much?
Where I don't agree with it is it's very anti-landlord. Population growth has exploded. New building of new properties has been dropping and dropping and dropping. What do you expect's going to happen? If the notice period might, rather than being 4 months notice that the landlord has to give a tenant, it'll become 3 months. It's all for the tenant.
One of the things that's worrying me about this conversation already is when a policy area, in this case housing, which for many people is stressful, is challenging, becomes very politicised. It feels a little bit about conversations around the NHS where governments end up creating policies and enacting things which they feel like they should do to appease people. Rather than pleasing everybody, we're going to have to try and do something here that's just good for the long-term security of the housing market, rather than how do we win votes. Because it's interesting that you mentioned the Tories shelving it before an election. Like, obviously that's not the focus of this podcast, but that is something to bear in mind, I think, as we go through and talk about the bill in detail, that perhaps there are elements of this that have been more about appeasing certain groups rather than truly try to solve the issues that you just clearly highlighted. Do you see what I mean?
Well, it's kind of come out of nowhere. So even if in 2019, and then it was shelved in 2023, maybe? Is that when the election was thingy? Yeah. 5 years. They were looking at something, but now Labour have come in and it's literally this summer. They've only been in government for 6 months or so, whatever it is.
Yeah, so it's going through the House at the moment, isn't it?
It's in like the third or fourth stage. Yeah, so this is happening.
It's getting ready to go.
The only thing that's up for discussion, I guess, at the minute, and I don't think it's up for much discussion, to be honest, what we think is going to happen is probably going to happen, now it's in the fourth stage, is unless there's a massive U-turn on something, or we'll get into it in a minute, but if the notice period might, rather than being 4 months notice that the landlord has to give a tenant, it'll become 3 months. There'll only be slight variations, but the bulk of it is happening. And it is very much, we'll go into it, where I don't agree with it is it's very anti-landlord. Not let's discuss something for both parties, it's all for the tenant. And all that's doing, we'll go into it more, is driving landlords out of the market, causing less supply, causing rents to go even higher than what they're trying to solve with the writer's rents bill.
Let's get into the bill then. Let's jump in on some of the key subjects. Let's start with the cap. So one thing that I remember thinking about a lot when I was renting a £1,650 one bedroom flat in London, which is the most money I've ever spent on the housing market. I think it's more than my current mortgage on a 5-bedroom house, like a 1-bedroom flat in Greenwich. I would often sit there with my wife when we were looking at bills and looking at the market going like, how is this not capped? How is our 1-bedroom property in a nice area of London, but ultimately a very small about the size of the studio, 1-bedroom property, why is this not capped? How are estate agents allowed to charge so much? So I understand the frustration that renters feel, but what's been put forward in this bill when it comes to addressing that?
So I smiled then because you said, why are estate agents allowed to charge so much, right? So you're the root of the problem.
Sorry, everyone.
But this is what happens, you see, is it causes divide.
Yeah.
You know, forgetting if it's agent or landlord, why are landlords allowed to charge this much? Why are agents allowed to charge this much? Because that's how much it's worth, ultimately. And the root problem is build more houses to bring more to the market, to give more choice, to bring prices more affordable. It's a supply and demand issue. Population growth has exploded. New building of new properties has been dropping and dropping and dropping. What do you expect's going to happen? So now rather than solving the root problem of supply, they're just thinking, damn, the last 10 years we've not built enough houses. How can we solve this problem? This is why I said to you about it's becoming more private landlords are pretty much becoming social landlords, because in my opinion, the government are saying, well, how can we make it Mrs. Jones's problem, who bought her property in 1990 for retirement, because at the time it was all, buy a property for your retirement because your pension's not going to be worth nothing. But now Mrs. Jones is selling her retirement because she can't, one, make money, and two, she's too scared to put her foot wrong.
So it's an interesting. I mean, I agree with you. The sort of like how I understand and think about the economy and how I think about markets, that all makes sense. I guess for me at the time as a renter, my frustration was that, well, ultimately there aren't more. Yeah, you're right. We do need more houses, but ultimately there aren't more houses.
So your frustration then goes on to the agent and the landlord.
Yeah.
For being in the wrong for charging or asking for the market rent for their property. This is what causes the huge divide. Let's talk about the proposals of the rent caps. Let's talk about rent caps. There's no rent capping going on at all. All they're doing is saying that landlords can't accept offers over the asking price, right? So I'll give you a real life example. I feel if you're going to cap rents, cap rents. Other countries do it. Real life example, studio flat in a town where we operate in a place called Hawley, just outside Gatwick Airport, next to it, London's a Brighton line, studio flat. We put it on at guide price, £900 a month, right? As you can imagine, loads of interest. We can guide price right now because we're legally allowed to until these changes. And I believe, let the market or let the tenants decide how much they want to offer. You know, 850, fine, make an offer 850. What actually happened was we got offers of 900, 925, 930, 950, £1,000 a month. And some guy was like, actually, it's perfect for me. The exact location. My mum lives around the corner. I want to be near to her. I'll offer £1,100 a month. Right, £200 a month more than the asking price. What's going to happen is landlords and agents won't be able to do that anymore. So we'll be asking £1,150 for that place and taking a £50 lower than asking price offer.